So you just got a second job, congratulations. But now you need to fill out the IRS Form W4. Now you either have the paper version that looks something like this, or you have an online portal through your employer that they told you to go ahead and fill it out, which is going to be the same information. So what you're probably wondering is, do you just take your W4 from last time and copy it to the new job? Well, the short answer is no. So what you want to do is you want to go back and actually input them both together. And it's much easier than you might actually think. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. You don't need to do the W4 version on the paper version, but we will get a printout. So either if you need to do the printout or put it into your online portal through your employer, you're going to be covered when we go through this walkthrough. So let me go ahead and pull it up on the screen and let's go through it together. I'll show you the link and everything that you need to do. So this is the tax withholding estimator through the IRS's website. They recommend that you use the online estimator. I recommend you use the online estimator. So if you have any questions, that's usually the first thing I'm going to ask. Did you try to use the online estimator? The reason being is because, like I said, it's going to be the most accurate way of doing this possible. Means that at the end of the year, when you go do your taxes, you're not going to have this big headache. So let's go ahead and go through this together. So we're going to use the online estimator, clicking on that button. And I'm just going to fill this out very simply. And we're going to do it as somebody that is single. If you're married filing jointly, just go ahead and put married filing jointly. There's only really one difference that you're going to do if you're married filing jointly, and I'll point that out. Let's go ahead and click off single for this walkthrough. I'm going to say, do you have a job that regularly withholds federal income taxes from your paycheck? Of course you do. That's why we're doing this. And we're going to go to the next page. So here's your income and withholdings. This is an important page. So here's what you want to do. First, let's read this sentence together. How many jobs will you have this year in which federal income tax is regularly withheld? Okay? That's what we want to put in there. Now, I'm going to quickly jump back over here for 1 second. If we put in married filing jointly, it is going to change that sentence. And it's going to say, how many jobs will you and your spouse have for this year in which federal income tax is regularly withheld? So basically the same question. The only difference is if you're married filing jointly, it's also going to ask you the information for your spouse if they have a job. So this is the same exact thing. So because you have two jobs, we want to input both of them in here. Even though you did the W4 for the other job, you still want to come in here and re-enter it in because it's going to recalculate all the information. So what you want to do is we're going to add a second job. Just click this positive sign, or if you want too high, click the negative sign. You want to put all the jobs that you have had or have for this year, for this tax year in 2022. So if you had a job, say in January, and you quit the job, got fired, whatever, but you got paid on that job and you had taxes withheld on that job, then you want to go ahead and enter it in here. You'll just put a start and end date. So right now, if you have two jobs, you're just going to go ahead and put those in there. So I hope that makes sense. If you have questions on that, let me know in the comments down below. But all of your jobs in your entire, basically your entire household between you and your spouse is what you really want to enter in here. Not your kids if they have jobs. That's completely separate. So let's go ahead and enter this in. I'm just going to make these numbers up. So if they look really different, then it's because I'm just making them up. So we're going to put in a salaried position. Again, put whatever applies to you. Now, this is the start and end date section. So select which best describes when you earn income from this job. So is it going to be all year? Or is I currently hold this job, but only for a portion of this year? Because you're going to estimate, maybe it's a seasonal job. So maybe you're only going to put in an estimated time frame. And it's fine if you're putting in estimates. It's okay. It's not a big deal. We can come back and estimate or redo it if we need to. If you need to make updates, something changed in your life, you should come back in here and update this stuff. I had this job earlier this year. I did not hold this job yet. I expect to start this job. So that means that they're going to put a future start date and then either a future end date or just continuing. And if you're continuing and it needs to put in a date, just put 12/31. So let's say that I had this job earlier this year and we're going to put a start and end date. You know what? I currently hold a job, but only for a portion this year. Let's just say all year. Let's say this is truly a second job. So I'm going to say I get paid twice a month, 24 times per year, twice a month. So obviously you're going to want to put in how often you're going to get paid. and then you're going to put in your most recent pay stub. Make sure you have your most recent pay stub. Don't just put in the most recent pay stub that you have, because then it's going to be wrong. You want to put in the recent pay stub. Reason being is once we put in this date, we're then going to, let's just say we got paid on the 1st, then we're going to have to go ahead and put in our salaries, enter wages or salary per pay period. That usually doesn't change unless you have commissions or tips or something like that. So let's say that I'm making $2,500 per pay period on this job. Enter wages or salary year to date. Let's say, I don't know, let's just say that I made $40,000, whatever. I'm just putting numbers in there. Based on the information provided, it looks like you have expected annual income of $65,000. Is that correct? If it looks correct, great, go with it. If not, make the adjustment, or maybe take a second and figure out why it's wrong. Maybe your math was wrong. Maybe you made an error on multiplying how many pay periods you had versus how much you've gotten paid year to date. It's probably on your pay stub, but if not, there you go. Based on the information provided, it looks good. Great. We're going to say yes. Now, this is why you want your most recent pay stub, because it's going to say enter federal taxes paid per pay period. Again, that might not be different. Let's just say we do $100 and enter federal taxes paid year to date. That is the important number. If you have an old pay stub, it's not going to be accurate. It's only going to be up to that point. So that's why you want to make sure you have your most recent pay stub in doing that. So let's just say that we did $2,000, whatever. And if you have any of these fringe benefits, if you have, I contribute to 401k, HSA, FSA, any of these types of plans, what I will point out here, it is not the Roth side, because what they're looking for is reducing your taxable income, because that's the pre-tax contributions to your 401k. So if you do have a Roth contribution, that is not over here. Now you want to enter in your second job, and it's going to be exactly the same information, but let's say it's a salary job, and let's say I had the, let's see, I do not hold this job yet. That's probably the most likely scenario if you're filling this out, or you just started working there, maybe you have one paycheck. That's what you need to do. So let's go ahead and just put that I'm going to start this job on the 20th, which at the time of this video is tomorrow. Who knows when I'm going to post it. But let's go ahead and say we're going to do this all year. So that's, like I said before, that end date, let's just say 12/31. It doesn't matter if you're going to continuously work there through 12/31 into next year and beyond. Just put 12/31 because it needs an end date. How frequently will you be paid? Let's do the same thing, twice monthly. So if you get paid on say like the 1st and 15th, that would be twice a month. But if you're getting paid every other week, that is going to be every 2 weeks. And it's a difference of 2 paychecks. So it's either 24 or 26. Some people overlook that, don't pay attention to it because it's not something that you deal with all the time. So that's what you want to just look out for if that's how you're getting paid. You might think like, oh, I'm getting paid, every other week, so it's twice a month, right? No, a little bit more because you're going to have 26 pay periods, not 24. So a little bit different. What will your annual salary be? Same thing. Let's just say $40,000. Now, here's what's really important is based on the dates provided, your future job is $16,667 is the estimated income for this year. Is this correct? Now, this is the first time I've actually seen this particular update, which is really nice because previously you had to basically do the math, but it's doing the math for you. So I love that because usually you're given a job and said, hey, this is your annual salary, or this is your hourly wage. It's like usually one of the two. So in this instance, you can put that annual salary and it's going to work out the math based on your start date and end date for this year. Because you're not going to pay taxes on $40,000. You're going to pay taxes on $16,667. So that's how that works out. So I'm really glad that they made that update. That wasn't on previous iterations of this. So based on the days provided, your future job, is this correct? Does this look right? Say yes, no. If it's not, obviously you need to make an adjustment. So I'm going to say yes. Again, if you have any of this, then go ahead and check it off. Now, if you decide to do that in the future, that's okay too. Just fill it out as it's accurate as today. And if you go back in and do this, then refill this out and resubmit your W-4s because each paycheck that you skip is going to make a little bit of a difference. And you just want to be as accurate as possible. You don't want to have to owe or get too big of a refund at the end of the year. So the reason you don't want a big refund is because you want it right now, right? You don't want to wait for that money. You want it right now. You don't want it in April. You want it in your paycheck right now. So that's why you want to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead. If you have any of this information, if you have a side hustle, self-employment income, you can put that in there. We're not going to check that off. We're just going to go click next. Okay, any adjustments that you have, go through that. I'm not going to go through that. If you have an IRA, stuff like that, any other plans outside from your employer, there you go. Deductions, we're going to take the standard deduction. Most people take the standard deduction. You have to have itemized deductions above $12,950 in order for it to make sense. So in this instance, we're going to choose a standard deduction. Again, most people choose a standard deduction, but doesn't mean that you're going to as well. I'm going to click on next. Tax credits. If you have any credits such as child tax credit or the child dependent care credit, any of that stuff, you got to put it in here. And then we're going to go to the next page. And there you go. So our expected tax withholdings is $4,310. Anticipated tax obligation is $10,737, and projected amount owed is $6,427. Now, right down here, we want to have a target of 0. So what we're going to do, they're going to make the adjustment for me. So you don't have to freak out and say, oh my goodness, I'm going to owe $6,400 at the end of the year. Yeah, if you don't actually make any changes to your W-4, but you're required to submit this second job. So basically it's going to withhold the correct amount. So you go down here and you're going to see the 2 jobs. Now, let's say this first job, because that first job was for my first employer. Click on this W-4. Let's click on it together to see what it looks like. I have no idea what it's going to look like. And look at that. It put extra withholdings of $290 because it's saying, hey, you're not withholding enough money. We need to play a little bit of catch up. Not a big deal. Let's do $290 because we've not withheld enough. So we're going to do an extra withholding on that job. Fill out all the other information any other way that you need to do it. For these blanks, that's 0. Don't adjust it. Let's say you had 3 kids and you're looking at this and it says 0. Just put 0. It already accounted for it. If you went in and put in the three kids, so it's for the child tax credit in this section over here, and then your result was it left it blank. It did not leave it blank. That's a 0. I wish it did put zeros in there so you know that it's a 0, but it is a 0. Do not go in there and do the math. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see. People go through this and they say, why is it all messed up? I put, the amount that I needed for the child tax credit and it's messed up. That's why. And the second job right here, the same thing, is doing 109 on extra withholdings. Now that's just because I put in fake numbers and it wasn't as accurate as probably what you already have with your W-4. So it's likely that there's very little going on here. It might all look blank to you. And if that is, just go ahead and fill out your basic information up here, your name, your information. It already checked off your filing status for you, so you're good there. And then just go ahead at the bottom and sign it and date it and give it to your employer, and you should be good to go on this. That is what you need to do. If you have any updates above and beyond that, then that's what you can take a look at. Now, there's one more piece if you're taking a look at this. These 4 boxes, even though you're looking at it, it says claim dependent section. That's all it is. So let's say that you didn't have any dependents, but it's putting a number in there too. That's often what's confusing to people. But it's for the tax credits. It's going to make an adjustment. And I wrote it out here in a previous video I did, but this is going to reduce your tax liability, increase your tax liability. This is going to increase your income and decrease your income, and that is between credits and deductions. That is how those 4 boxes work. I've done this on a previous video. You can go check that out. But if you have a second job now, then you want to update your first job. And if you have a spouse as well who has jobs, then you want to update all of them together. So put them all in here together, go through each W-4 and resubmit them. I know sometimes this feels like a pain, but it's the way to be as accurate as possible. Don't try to make any other adjustments. Don't try to add these 2 on the extra withholdings. It will just mess everything up. Do the way the printouts are printed out. That's the way you want to do it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the bottom, and we'll see you on the next one.